What is going on? Your eyes do not deceive you. I know it's kind of crazy. Only 2 boxes this week, but we're gonna do what we always do, and that's bring you guys the best coverage of wrestling of the week. Is For the Love of Wrestling Flow Show. Of course, we got Brian Andrews along with your boy Kwency Jones. What's going on, man?
I don't know, man. It feels like Baca didn't want to watch the Daniel Bryan final match in Smackdown or something.
I mean, I know Fridays are like usually like those days he has like a gig. I just didn't know that he was going to do something Saturday, but
Right.
And I know that because usually he's late Saturdays because he's coming like he's waking up from the gig from the night before. So,
Which I know his show's in at like 2 a.m. or something.
I was about to say,
I don't know what's going on between 2 a.m. and 10 a.m.
I was about to say, yeah, he's probably getting some post show meals and stuff like that. You know, he's hanging out, but you know, he's over here acting like he's the champ. He's not the champ yet. You know what I mean? We gotta.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out. Well, is WrestleMania Backlash? Is that coming up anytime soon?
It's like in May. Like, if anything, the thing is, like, it shows how important Impact is. Like, we could have done Impact, but we decided not to.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it is worth noting that Kenny Omega is the new Impact champion. I mean, it's weird though because I guess I don't know. I'm not too sure when it comes on, but there was a clip already for like the next episode, and I guess like Scott D'Amore like reveals that there wasn't a what do they call it? A rematch clause for Rich Swann, so Rich Swann doesn't even get a rematch for the title, and they're
fine.
Yeah. For me, like I don't care, but it was just like so like. I mean, like it's weird because it's like, okay, so what is the benefit for you guys to have a champion that's not even on your show? Like that's not even signed to you guys.
Well, hopefully he's on TV enough where at least people think, like, even if he doesn't show up, people think he might show up. So like they don't want to miss a week because he might be there, if that makes sense.
I did see something interesting now that I think about it, is that there was a backstage like it was like a promo, but it was like an exchange between Don Callis and Sami Callihan actually, and he had said that he was coming for Kenny Omega. He said, at any time in any place he's coming back for the championship. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't know if the two's ever faced off before. I'm sure maybe in the Indies possibly, but I'm not too sure. I at least to my knowledge, I'm not too sure if they've ever faced off before. But I thought that was pretty interesting because I was thinking like, besides the Good Brothers like hopping on Dynamite every week, like there hasn't been a whole lot of, like, if anything, there hasn't been anybody else from Impact that's came over. Yeah. I mean, I know there was like that weird kind of energy between the two with the Sammy Guevara incident and all that stuff. My brother did just tell me that I guess like you know how like they've been running AEW like commercials on Impact Wrestling. I guess like Tony actually paid for the last one.
Right. And I guess Impact didn't want to pay for, I guess, promo time on AEW. That's why they didn't do anything there. Yeah, but I'm sure the belt's gonna be on TV now going forward.
I was wondering about that because I was like thinking like I had no knowledge of Rebellion gonna be like last what was it, last Sunday, I think
Saturday
it was Sunday.
One of those days.
Until people started bringing it up like later in the week, because like even on Wednesday, like I was thinking they didn't even do any cross promotion about that at all, and that's your guys' like world share. So I was like, okay, that was kind of interesting.
It is, and let me ask you this: does he drop the Impact title or the other titles that he's going to earn probably between now and, or does he drop the AEW title first before he drops these titles?
I don't know. I mean, I could see him dropping like the Mega Championship for sure, because I mean, I think he had it once and then lost it and then won it again since he's been in AEW. The Impact is kind of weird because of the fact that I was talking to my brother about this. I'm like, you would think they would have came up with another belt with the fact that they have like the old TNA belt attached to it still. And, I'm not saying that Impact Wrestling can't do their own like version of the Undisputed Championship with the WCW and the, you know what I mean? Like what they did with like Jericho. But I mean, like, it doesn't really do anything for him to try to do something that's already been done, especially on a lower level where people don't really care as much. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out where they go from here. I mean, what's next? I mean, NWA, they've been running for the last I think month or so. I don't know if he's planning on going to NWA, but
I do feel, here's a hot take. I think a lot of people are thinking this is going to lead to the IWG, IW
GP.
Yeah, I was like, wait.
That new champion, because that's true because of the fact that it's Kota Ibushi is the champ.
Well, isn't Ospreay currently the champ?
Oh, you're right. He did get beat. Fuck.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was Kota.
No. But you're right because that just happened. I totally forgot about that because he's been low key calling out. I think CM Punk for it too.
I'll be honest with you. I don't really. It's not that I don't want to see Kenny going for it eventually, and I do want to see that happen. I guess I just don't want to see it happen because I do feel like it might take away somewhat of when Hangman has to get the title off Kenny eventually. Because if you make Kenny going for the IWGP Championship, that's going to feel like a bigger deal in general than Hangman taking the title off Kenny, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I mean, with the belts, I mean now you're creating all these other like sub stories that are gonna take like kind of precedent over, even if like because even though he's an AEW guy, now that he has all these other championships, so that he's representing all these other companies, the AEW is not like the 100% priority as far as how the storyline is gonna have to go. If that's how it's gonna work and pertaining to like this Forbidden Door stuff, again, I mean. There's no manual on this, but I do, I'm hoping that they still pull the trigger on that Hangman, pursuit of the AEW championship while Omega is champion. At least it is interesting enough though that he was ranked number 1, and then they had Brian Cage just fucking beat him on Wednesday. I didn't know where that decision came from, but
I think it's to make it so it's not super predictable that it's Hangman in the background going for it. I think it's to make it look like Hangman's going to have to deal with some shit first. Like I could see Kenny holding on to this championship well past All Out this year, and maybe even going into All Out next year.
Really, I was going to say I could see him dropping it probably Full Gear this year if they're going to go that far. I think he won. It was a Full Gear. He won it last year, or was it? No. It was on a Dynamite. Obviously, yeah. I not remember because that's. The whole mic drop heard around the world and all that good stuff, but
they usually do the Double or Nothing Battle Royal for the championship, right? Championship match, right?
Unless they do that. I mean, what they do last time, was it All In or All Out where they were? Is that where Brian Cage debuted and he got like that poker chip and shit?
They did. That was that a ladder match?
Oh, that must have been Double or Nothing if it was a poker chip.
Yeah. And then maybe the Battle Royal was for nothing.
I mean, I remember they had a Battle Royal before, but I think this like replaced it.
Maybe they didn't do a Battle Royal, but don't they do like the Battle
usually,
Royal?
Yeah, and like the buy-in usually has some sort of Battle Royal featured for sure. They I
wish Baco was here so he could tell us all his AEW stuff.
His expertise in the AEW product, you know what I mean? Yeah. But you know what? I did. Speaking of I know we're talking about the Forbidden Door a little bit. I don't know if you read that news earlier about supposedly, well, two things. MLW, they got a TV deal with Vice TV, and they actually, I think they premiere tomorrow at noon.
Oh, that'd be dope.
So I'm definitely gonna check that out. I've been trying to figure out how I can watch it because I've been watching it on YouTube a little bit, but I would love to watch it regularly. But there was news that WWE is in talks and having some sort of working relationship with the MLW.
Do you think it's WWE or like it is WWE, but do you think it's WWE or do you think it's NXT, like the main roster or NXT?
I don't know. That is a good question because based on what I read, it was more focused on where I don't want to say underdeveloped talents, but people that are like still TV ready but trying to get their reps in can go over there and get their reps in. I mean, I'm more excited if they're gonna. I mean, I don't know if it's just gonna be just like another platform for their talents to go and sharpen their skills up. But if they're gonna allow some actual like cross promotion or cross just just overall like features of some actual like top guys. I mean, I thought it would be pretty cool off the rip if you got Jacob Fatu, who's legit cousins and part of the Anoa'i family. So it's like,
Mhm.
I mean,
That's
that'd
probably
be
the one that's been like, I don't want to say the most, but when this news broke, a lot of people said dream matches, and some people were talking about Usos, Roman, and stuff like that.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would want Fatu to go against Roman, but I think it'd be interesting to see if they were able to kind of expand the storyline a little bit outside of WWE. I think that'd be kind of cool.
So I'm intrigued on like how this is really gonna go down, and interesting people that I want to say that are involved with MLW. I don't know if MLW I don't think has an exclusive contract with anybody. If I could be wrong about that. But Brian Pillman Jr. wrestles in MLW, I believe.
Does he still? But I was wondering about that because obviously he's been doing the Varsity Blondes thing. But I was wondering
Right.
if he will like has like a. I know different guys have different stuff in their contract, so it's possible that he has that in his contract as well. You know what I mean? So
Well, I know AEW I think wants people to put some, get some work in if they're not always going to be working.
true.
But at the same time, like I said, Brian, like I'm looking at the MLW roster right now. Brian Pillman's on there.
Okay. Okay.
But some other people that are on this list, which I don't know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if these people are signed exclusively or not, which I doubt. Simon Gotch, TJP, Leo Rush is the MLW middleweight champion.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know he's been doing some shots there in like New Japan as well.
ACH, which has he's not.
ACH really? Oh wait, it's in my. I think Myron Reed's another guy that's on there, right? Is it Myron
Mhm.
Reed?
Yeah, Myron Reed.
Yeah, I know him and Leo just had like a. I think they still have a program that's exclusive right now. It's going on, but
And Tom Lauer is probably the most interesting one because he's the person that I've always felt like would be low key a WWE-ish guy.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. It'd be kind of cool to see if he crossed over and did something with like Timothy Thatcher or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe even Matt Riddle.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be mad at that. Tom Lawyer, I think he was he was like the longtime MLW champion before Fatu dethroned him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's one of the staples there.
Let me ask you this though: do you think WWE is doing this so Kenny Omega or other Forbidden Doors can't be opened by AEW? So this is their own version of cross promotion, getting on MLW while they're somewhat hot, just joining Vice. And
I think if so, it is an interesting move. I mean, because of the fact that AEW does have quite a few talents that already came from or still work. In this case with Brian Pillman Jr. So I mean, it is a pretty interesting power move if that is the case. I think MLW is willing to work with anyone that's going to benefit them. To be honest,
yeah,
they have a great. They were just ringing off the names of talent over there. I mean, I think again, especially with the fact that they got the Vice deal, it's going to do a little bit more wonders for them as far as exposure too. I don't know if I'm a fan if it's going to mean something like it's going to be more produced like a WWE product. That's kind of where I'm like, I'm hoping that's not going to be the case.
well, I don't think so either. I
Like,
think, yeah,
I'm hoping they're not going to treat them like another Evolve. You know what I mean, and kind of just piggyback off their talent and stuff. I mean, I guess it's not necessarily a bad thing if they do, but we've seen what they do. They freaking hoard talent, man, and sometimes these guys are really good. They don't see the light of day, or you see a fraction of what they can do. Like somebody brought it up the other day, and not that I'm the biggest Ricochet fan, but it's like, when's the last time he's did a flippy do? You know what I mean? I can't remember the last time he's even done like a 630. Like outside of his entrance, like they've low key like just shaving everything away from him that got him to the show to begin with. And I don't ever understand that about WWE. I understand that they want to have their own version of whatever is hot, but they haven't had to do that with guys like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. You know what I mean? Like guys who's already notorious, they've kind of let them do their thing and let them have their names. That's why it's kind of weird that sometimes, where Ricochet, it's like, dude, just let him go and let him do what he wants to do, or let him do what he does. You know what I mean? the fact that you guys have this guy exclusively under contract, there's a lot of other companies that would love to pay him right now. You know what I mean? But you guys, it's just weird. Like they incubate these guys just so that, like, and they keep them lukewarm, just in case they end up making it on the other side of the freaking, firing line, I guess if you want to call it. But I don't know, man. It's
the
so
way I read
frustrating.
the way I read the story, because I believe like when we used to think of Evolve was somewhat of a feeder to NXT,
Yeah,
whereas this one seems more like a talent exchange relationship. And I only see it kind of happening on like NXT with maybe the occasional like Ricochet or someone who's not being used on TV too much makes like an appearance just to get a decent pop from 50 people.
I mean, yeah, I could see like a Chad Gable getting in there with like a Simon Gotch or something like that. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Or
Yeah,
even Daniel Bryan.
So I'm reading
Yeah.
right now on Wikipedia that, and keep in mind this might not be updated. So their women's division is on hold, MLWs, because of an injury that happened to one of their wrestlers. And I'm assuming that might be one of the only female wrestlers they have signed. If they have a working relationship with WWE, that means some of the women wrestlers could go wrestle over there.
That's very true.
And
I mean, the only thing is, I mean, I don't know. That might be kind of dangerous ground for them because if they have their own loyal fans, don't like fuck with WWE or their system or the way of doing things.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's like if a WWE, like WWE, that's like if a WWF Golden Era guy went to a Golden Era ECW show and in the crowd, like, I mean, some people would be like, oh, they'd be like shocked to see him, but they'd be such ECW loyalists, they'd be like, fuck this guy. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that's not going to be like the same kind of treatment with the women, where if you see someone like I don't know, like a Dana Brooke, where she's just going to get fucking shat on if she goes to MLW. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm hoping it's not them. I mean, really, if they're the ones who need the work, but I'm hoping that NXT does have such a deep division that like now Tony Storm's putting people over. So
Dude,
so
like ridiculously, like I told my brother, like I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize it was a job where like I just saw the hair and I assumed it was what's her name, Kaden Carter, and I was like, wait, who's this? And I was like, why did she beat Tony? Like, I don't understand what's going on.
Remember when we were talking about Raquel Gonzalez, and I said like, as much as I think she's amazing, there's still like a chunk of people that I feel like who should have that spot first. Like,
right, like yeah.
Tony Storm, Ember Moon getting that shot again, stuff like that. Like I thought, because that's the reason why they're there in the first place, is because they have the credibility to put the division
I was just about to say
on a level
to help strengthen it, especially with I mean the usual call ups and main roster. I mean, like Rhea's gone, you know what I mean? So it's like Bianca's gone. Yeah, I mean it was a smart move bringing those names in, but then it's like, okay, are they just credible names to face? Like I could see if like, Ember versus Raquel, that would be a great match. And if she wins, then that's a good, as they say, a scalp to, you know what I mean, for a career. But like if it's her versus Tony Storm, which then they'll never do because that'll be heel versus heel, it's like I kind of want to see it go the other way. You know what I mean? Because to be honest, she has way more experience than she does. You know what I mean? Just on a realistic level. But I'm not mad she has a championship. I figured they've danced around it and teased it so many times with the imagery from like War Games all the way up till now, as far as her being the one to pin Io Shirai and put her through that table. So it's like it kind of made sense. I just don't know what the hell they're doing with Io Shirai right now, because what would they have her do? Like that, what Frankie Monet or Taya Valkyrie?
Yeah,
whatever. I can't get into it. The Frankie Monet is just, I don't understand why she has to change her name. I don't get that.
And the funny thing is she's super talented, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I've never watched. I don't want to say like, how should I put this? When I've gone through periods where I watch Impact somewhat consistently, or watching Lucha Underground somewhat consistently, she never made me like that engaged in what she was doing, even when she was like working with John Morrison. So
yeah, I mean it was more the promos, I mean the stuff they were doing on Impact and how they were reshaping the image of Impact as it was like kind of on a new, on a new come up. But yeah, I have to agree with you. I'm not in a rush to go and watch the next Taya Valkyrie match, but I know enough, to say that she has star power. She has popularity that I mean, obviously it gets you a certain way, but or so far. But I think if she was going to be in the WWE system, which she is now, I don't think it was necessary to change her name. Especially they've let so many other people come in and keep their name, especially off a rep. Like, yeah, it's super weird. I don't know if it's something like maybe Impact owns it when because she signed the deal with them or something like that. But then again, it's like you got so many former employees that you stole production wise from Impact. It's amazing that you haven't tried a working relationship with Impact. You know what I mean? I mean, they paid to acquire like footage and tapes that they can use on their network and shit. But they're like, but no, we don't want shit to do with James Storm or any of those guys. We're like, no, keep them over there. Especially Rich Swann. They're like, no, we had that guy once. We're good. Like,
I would have, and maybe this is too patriarchal, but what if she had just went by Tyra Morrison, and then she's still in NXT, he's still in Raw, but then eventually people could cross promote in a weird way. Like,
I mean, she could even just go by Taya. Like, they can still call her Taya Morrison on commentary, but she can just go by like Taya one name.
I can see the Valkyrie thing because there is a NXT UK, I think, wrestler with the Valkyrie.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I can see where there might be confusion there.
But see, even that's not as bad as just being called Mike Kanellis, even though that's your wife's last name. Like, right. You know what I mean? With that whole presentation. But I did get a chance to watch SmackDown though.
Before we get started on SmackDown, I just want to throw an interesting take.
Yeah, for sure.
The person who I think should take the Impact title off Kenny Omega, and he doesn't necessarily need to be assigned to Impact either, which maybe that's also an issue, but we'll get to that later. I think it should be Samoa Joe.
Yeah, I think so. That makes sense. I mean, like, it's what makes the most. It's what makes the most noise. And to be honest, I think he's only held that title for reals like once in his career, as long as he's been.
Which is shocking. If someone hit me with a trivia and said how many times did Samoa Joe hold the title, I would have said probably 5 or 6 times.
I think if it's not just once, I think because I'm pretty sure it was when it was still the NWA title, but I think he may have held it when they updated it once. Mm-hmm. But I can't remember because I know. I mean, they were up and down with him like the whole.
He was a multiple time X Division champion.
Yeah, the X Division stuff. That's for sure. I mean, I think that'd be if they did that, that'd be the smartest move to make Impact watchable, to get people to want to tune into it, and also it makes sense because you got a guy like Joe who's been a caged animal stuck on commentary. Like, what better way to give him such a great look back than
even if he was signed to AEW to do it.
Guy. Yeah. I mean, like he could do AEW. I mean, he can float around if he wants to. Again, I mean, not everything's like all the way opened up, but I mean, you got AEW already, advertising for freaking house shows and putting on house shows and shit like that. So it's getting close. I can feel it. I mean, I'm just, 90 days is still 90 days, but hey, if they're going to do something, because the only other fantasy booking I heard regarding Samoa Joe, which, yeah, it would be cool, but we can't do, it's the same reason why we can't do Undertaker versus Sting for reals, because it would have been better if they were younger, or we should have pulled the trigger on it then. And that's, people were like, oh, Samoa Joe's free. CM Punk ain't doing nothing. And he's always been hot. He's been harping about if he's going to come back to wrestling, lately it has to be something interesting and cool. Hey, why not revisit their old, rivalry? I'm like, yeah, I get that. But I'm like, dude, they're not going to outdo that first, whole year of freaking fights that they had in ROH. Like, they're not going to outdo that, but
they're not going to recreate anything.
I mean, yeah, is it an attraction? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if people want to see it now. I don't even know if that's something. I mean, CM Punk said, anything's possible, but you got to do what you got to do. You got to,
low key, I'm going to be real about this. CM Punk, if he's going to come back, he has to wrestle someone who is not on today's stature of wrestling. Like, he can't, like, if he came back and no, I'm not saying anybody wants to see this, but if he came back and wrestled Christian, we'd be CM Punk's gonna look good in a match against Christian. But if
Yeah.
he comes back and wrestles Will Ospreay, well,
Well,
Will
yeah,
Ospreay is gonna run circles around
I
him.
was gonna say he's talked about this too, which I actually respect him for being honest about it. Because he said that, like, people were, they like to put together these dream matches, but it's like, dude, like, people weren't even doing things that Will Ospreay was doing when I was in, you know what I mean? Is what he says. It's like, so it's like, how do yeah, it's nice on paper, but how do I compete with that? I mean, it's people are faster, they're doing stuff that people, they weren't doing, in my age, and I'm like, you sound like an old timer, you know what I mean? But that's what kind of intrigued me about his answer about it. But I mean, do I want to see him versus Ospreay? To be honest, no, I wouldn't. I mean, if that was like, if there was one match that was going to bring him out, that to me wouldn't be the one for me. That, I mean, would I watch it? Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. It's an attraction either way. CM Punk returning, but I mean, is that the one that's going to do it for me? Nah, as a fan, no. I mean, the only thing I could see is like if John Cena left WWE, which would never happen, and they had like some weird one-on-one in a non-WWE type of surrounding, and I think he'd go for that. The only other thing I could see that also happening under is if like you know another Saudi show comes up. So of course, if the Prince want one, he wants the another redo of CM Punk and John Cena, I'm sure he'd be willing to pay for it. Which obviously that's one of the check boxes on CM Punk's list of demands as far as what it's going to take. But again, is it interesting to him? Who knows? I mean,
I think the match that if that on paper that I'm very like, you know what, it checks all the boxes of making sense would be Cody Rhodes.
That would be actually pretty interesting.
Because I think they could wrestle at a good pace. They could both tell a decent story. They don't have to go out there and do 1,000 flippy doos. And there is a little bit, and I'm sure most AEW fans are marks. They know about the back and forth about like AEW
I was gonna say,
and the relationship on
the whole
that
cell phone thing, yeah,
right.
and then just the way he chose to kind of respond and handle that when asked about it. So it kind of, yeah, the build kind of builds itself in a way. And then also you got Cody, who's also told stories about his time with CM Punk back in WWE, obviously when he was in a lesser position and stuff like that. So it would be interesting. You got that dynamic of him, kind of coming to his own as his own top guy in his own company that he kind of helped, build with AEW, and then the fact you got CM Punk, who's always Mr. Anti-establishment, and then he has a new, kind of establishment to go up against. And the talking would be just, I mean, obviously there's no one writing scripts over there, you know what I mean? So there's no handcuffs there. Which again, I think that's the only thing with AEW is they have to learn how to police themselves.
Yeah.
Like, and it's obviously gonna be a learning process. It's only their second year, you know what I mean? So, well, we're getting to the third year, I guess now. I mean, it's going fast. But yeah, I mean, I think that would be probably the one. If they did like, that's like that all out huge feature big match, right? Or something that they'd probably be able to pull strings to do. But that would be the one that would sell out, dude. Like, and I think you're absolutely right in terms of the styles. I mean, we know his sure as hell ain't like Billy Gunn and shit, you know what I'm saying? Like he ain't, I mean, I think it would do Punk a service to wrestle someone that he knows he can still like him versus Pac. Would that be cool? Yeah, but I don't know if I want to see it because I want to see something that's gonna make me confident that CM Punk will look good in it. You know what I mean?
Unless they're telling the
it's just
story.
a selfish fan,
Yeah, unless they're telling the story that CM Punk's this kind of like out of shape coming back to wrestling guy and he's always gassed in his matches. Unless they're telling that story, he's just going to look like an out of shape wrestler being gassed in his matches if he's wrestling people like Pac and stuff like that, or Pac.
Yeah,
I mean,
which it'd be ironic if they weren't telling that story about Christian, because that's exactly what he's been doing lately.
Dude, like I feel like we don't need to spend long enough. We don't need to spend a lot of time. I'm a big Christian fan. Like I love Christian, probably like Christian more than I like Edge. And but we all know who he is at this stage in his career. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, like I feel like every other week they do something really good, and then every other week they do something that's like, hey, like we're not putting Jungle Boy on TV for this. Like
yeah, I mean, you know what? Like Christian versus Jungle Boy, well, I think would be great. You know, something like that. I didn't mind him versus Hobbs, but it does make me a little worried when it's like, all right, man, not every match you have on TV has to be a 20-minute Broadway. You know what I mean? Just because, you know, I know who you are and I know what you're capable of, but I mean, is Hobbs really going to do anything in the next 3 to 4 or 5 months with the rub you gave him by making him look great and you had to catch him slipping with the, you know, with the kill switch? Like,
and what rub is that?
I mean, just the fact that he stood so long, and I mean, most of the match he pretty much, you know, manhandled Christian most of that match, you know. So I guess that's the rub in itself. You know, you always say, you know, like you said, you know, win or learn, no win or loss. So I mean, you know, they always say you can still look good losing, and Hobbs, you know, he did, but again, I'm like, but WWE AEW is not going to do anything with him in between 3 to 4 to 5 months. That match, the benefit from that match, it's going to sizzle out. It doesn't mean anything anymore. You know what I mean?
Christian should be a special attraction match.
I 100% agree. I'm not mad at him because I think it is important for him to start trying to get his body back into routine working mode. So, you know, I'm not mad at, you know, the fact that, you know, what, 2-3 matches on TV, but I think, yeah, you're right. Maybe once a month, or, I mean, he should really come back on that Captain Charisma stuff and have like the Captain Charisma something of the month, or you know what I mean, where he has some sort of challenge, you know what I mean, where it's like, you know, and it's just him just chipping away, just trying to, you know, I think it'd be real relatable, him being a veteran. He's like, dude, I'm just trying to rack up these wins, you know what I mean, and just trying to go out on my own terms, fighting some of the best crop of talent that, you know, that's here, and I'm signed to that company. So it'd be easy to kind of do something like that. But I do agree, it has to be something special. It has to be an attraction. I love Christian, but I don't want him overexposing himself on you know, every 2 weeks on Dynamite. Because if someone beats him or someone is in the ring with him, it has to feel special, and it has to mean something. It's the reason why it's a big deal that he was this big name that crossed over, only to have him like in the ring with some, you know, some of the up and comers. But again, like I said, like, but there's nothing that's being done on the creative side to capitalize on any of that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to remember that he was in the ring with Christian 3 months ago or three months from now. You know what I mean? And how he looked. I mean, for research purposes, I will, but off the rip, I'm not going to be like, oh, there goes Hobbs, man. Did you guys see that match? You look pretty impressive with Christian. I don't know if you saw it. It's like, they're not going to put a real spotlight on it. And he's just the current example, you know. I mean, the fact that I will admit though, it seemed like he's gearing towards a match with Starks next, which I'm actually more excited for that. Starks seems to be more better positioned in that group of teams where they would probably do something with him before they would do something with Hobbs. So, you know, it could be a better situation for Starks. But I mean, yeah, that as far as the Christian thing, you know, as far as us not taking so long on it, I'm sorry, but
you're good. I was gonna say, because I do think they're leaning toward involving Christian somehow with the Hangman Page stuff, and putting them on the same level where maybe Hangman Page gets the rub eventually against Christian. Because who cares about the match necessarily, but on paper, like at Double or Nothing, Christian versus Hangman Page would be not bad on paper. Like same thing with the Matt Hardy stuff. You know, like
it's a solid ass match. Yeah.
But I would have liked if they brought Christian in, and especially with his injury history and the outwork everyone stuff, right? If he actually had so much doubt that he signed the contract, but he's afraid to wrestle. So everyone's keeping approaching him, saying, "Hey, when are you going to finally wrestle, dude?" And he's like, "I'll get to it." You know? And he never wrestled. Okay. He has a promo every week, but he just never gets in the ring.
I could see that, but
he gets himself out of matches, and then eventually he finally has the match like at Double or Nothing against somebody.
Okay, because I was gonna say I could see after a while if he's forced it, like if people start getting on him, like on his ass about like, dude, well, you keep saying you're gonna have a match, then he could start saying, well, you know who I am? I'm a decorated tag team champion, world champion. You know what I mean? He could start pulling that card and saying, if I'm gonna have a match, it has to mean something. It has to be against someone. It has to be at a big place, a big date. You know what I mean? So then, you know, yeah, you can transition to, okay, no, I'll only do the big shows. You know what I mean?
Right.
Type of thing. I'll only play the big venues, as they say. I think that'll be pretty hilarious. Because that's the thing, is like I'm not mad at what Christian's doing, but I have to admit, I miss the personality. And I'm not getting a whole lot of that right now from him. But I'd rather this than the one more match. Like, you know what I mean? That he ran that one into the ground. So I'm glad he didn't go back to that. But like I said,
really
Captain
like that.
Charisma, if he brought that back in some way, shape, or updated form, I think that'd be cool.
I really like that he worked with Kazarian during his
Yeah,
match.
that was a great.
I really like that.
That was a great first match back. Yeah.
But the fact that I feel like he's still working a lot, it's just we could wrap circles around this, but I guess that's where we're both agree on that. We're just like
he's like low key having more matches than a lot of people who've been signed longer than him on the like as far as consistency on a episodic basis. Yeah, we've been seeing him more than like we've seen like Joey Janela. You know what I mean? Or you know, any Sunny Kiss. So yeah, he's getting miles in for sure.
I just don't want him to eventually become like, I know this is gonna sound mean, but I don't want him to become AEW's Baron Corbin. Like, I don't want it to be the point where like when his match comes up, you're just kind of like, and
I was even gonna say their version of Daniel Bryan, and I may be in the minority of this, but when he first came back, I was excited for him, but I was really surprised how much he was getting featured on TV and getting into matches where even after a while, I was like, well, okay, well, he's not going to lose this because it's him coming back. Like I would tune out of some of these matches because I'm like, man, he's kind of fighting a little bit too much for my taste for a guy that's like making this great comeback. And I get he's trying to showcase that he's, you know, down for the work rate, but I'm like, again, sometimes less is more. And I think that's just the case with Christian. You know, I mean, we know what he's capable of, but again, yeah, save it. Save it for something that's going to be, you know, special. Make the rub count, you know.
Yeah, I don't think that takes hot at all. You're right. When Daniel Bryan came back, it was dope for a minute, and then we were all just like, and then it wasn't really cool until he won the world title and became a heel.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that change is what needed to happen because at the time we were kind of like, okay, we're I get it, we're on the Daniel Bryan recovery tour, like, you know, we've been doing this for months now, but I'm kind of tired of watching him come out and me feeling sorry for him and wincing every time he's still going for the diving headbutt, even though, you know what I mean, he shouldn't be doing this shit. But yeah, I mean, Daniel doesn't bother me now, but yeah, it's you know, like we said, less is more possibly, but let's get something interesting for Christian. I mean, teams has.
I don't want him going for the title, even during his whole stint, unless the story's that damn good, which I doubt is going to get to that point.
It would have to be so like I wouldn't mind him versus Moxley or him versus Cody for that title. Maybe even him versus MJF.
I think he could have a really good
him and Jericho. I wouldn't mind because they have history too. You know, he could be like, you still owe me a Canadian dollar. You know what I mean, from the bet and shit. So like.
I really think he could be in a really good TNT championship feud. But in terms of the AEW title, unless the story's there or they did it as like a one-off really special, let's book this AEW Dynamite, or, you know, one of those side shows they do, like a Bash at the Beach or something. Like if they did something like that and Christian was going for the title, I don't mind that at all. I just don't want him being in a storyline that's building to the only 4 pay-per-views they have in the year. And I think that's the issue of AEW sometimes with me, is you only get 4 of them. So the I feel like the stories have to be that good. And sometimes like I'm like,
no, like, because sometimes it feels like they're like the formula feels like, okay, we got these 4 shows. Who do we want to have these 4 big moments at these shows? And then they plan those moments and they're like, all right, now we have to plan how these moments intersect. And sometimes you're like, no, that don't make sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, back to the drawing board on that one. Maybe somebody else deserved that spot. Or why is this guy getting this match? Why is this match getting so much attention? No one wants to see this match. You know, you get a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, I agree. In terms of, I don't mind him getting a shot at the title as long as it's like a brief 2 to 3 month run. But again, not if it means that he's going to be part of like a major storyline in one of the big shows. I mean, I don't mind if he's like defending the championship in one of the shows, but I don't want to see. I can't see Christian long-term champion. But for the TNT championship, that's a little different because he's Mr. Outwork Everyone. TNT championship being the work, you know, the kind of the workers title. I could see that. You know, I mean, I think that'd be actually pretty cool. I think that'd be a good moment for him to have, you know, to have that strap for a little bit test his iron against some of the iron of the locker room and stuff like that. So yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all. I'm trying to figure out what exactly they're trying to do with this Scorpio Sky Ethan Page stuff though. I mean, I'm hoping
it's kind of WWE to me for him to kind of break away from SCU just to kind of find a new friend. Like I think that's one of my
yeah,
biggest pet peeves in wrestling is when you break
yeah,
something up just for them to find a new friend. They do it with the women's division in WWE all the time. But like and they did with like the Otis and Tucker and stuff
yeah.
like that. Uh but yeah,
The Iconics.
I don't mind if they're both after the same thing and they're heels trying to be after the same thing, but I don't want them to be buddies. And
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, but you know what? I guess it's time to get into the big
I
main
thought we were gonna
event.
get into this like right off the bat, and then we ended up talking about AEW for an hour.
Yeah, now it was cool because we did have some stuff that happened this week. I mean, we do get blood and guts next week, so I am interested to see how that's going to work. Because one of the things I was telling my brother was like, it is kind of the first time we're seeing this version where it's just two teams that are 5-on-5. We've seen I think two teams of 3 or like 3 teams of like 4 before or something like that. So this is gonna be interesting. I mean, obviously it's on free TV, so I don't understand that shit.
I want to throw this out there to you too. I'm glad it's this one because the last Blood and Guts that they were supposed to do, in my opinion, it might have turned out good, but I was super let down at the fact that I think the 5th elite member was going to be Matt Hardy.
Yeah,
Like
I was trying to remember why that.
one of the Young Bucks was hurt.
Oh no, but also Cody wasn't in the. I think Cody was. Who was it?
Was he on a different feud?
Because I'm trying to think. Because I feel like Blood and Guts is what the Stadium Stampede ended up being since they couldn't
Right.
do it. You know what I mean? But I remember that Cody had his own match that night, so he wasn't part of the 5 in that Stadium Stampede. He wasn't part of the Elite.
Oh yeah, he wasn't part of the Stadium Stampede, but I thought he originally was going to be booked for the Blood and Guts.
I mean, it makes.
And
I mean, you would think so because obviously his dad's the one that came up with the concept, so it would make sense. Especially
and I know
if it's the first one. So
Matt Hardy was going to be the 5th guy in it, and because I think one of the Young Bucks had COVID or something.
See, I kept hearing that there
or
was
not. Look, this was before COVID. He was, I think,
yeah.
was hurt.
Well, actually, I think this is right around COVID because I know that they advertised it and then they stopped. They couldn't do the show anymore because it was supposed to be in New Jersey, and things were getting hot over in the East Coast. And they closed that shit down. So the other thing I remember though is the fact that Brody was supposed to be. I don't know if he was supposed to be a part of it or if I think.
Just he was supposed to debut that night because I think it was in Rochester or something.
That's what it was. Yeah. And then so I know there was something to do with Brody that night as well. So yeah, everything changed. I remember everything. It must have been COVID because there's no other reason why it would have changed. At least not quickly because
But I'm glad that this one has 2 legit full teams.
Yeah, my only gripe about it is the build. I feel like Pinnacle hasn't been built up as a unit enough. I didn't mind the parlay, but I'm like I told my brother, I was like, I feel like Chris Jericho is in his John Cena mode right now with this face character he's playing. He just keeps turning his voice up to the same volume and saying the same thing in different ways. Like, all right, Jericho face promo, and all right, done. Like, he's pretty much been doing the same thing for the last couple of weeks. I mean, I didn't appreciate Sammy Guevara in his malicious words towards my guy, Sean Spears.
Hey, Sean Spears is getting on TV, and I know Baca hates it, but
yeah, he totally hates it.
We're a pro Sean Spears podcast.
I definitely do. Like, I don't understand what what is there to hate? This guy, he's memorable for a lot of things. I mean, I know people like to replay that gif of him getting super kicked by Shawn Michaels, but
without putting too much thought into it, I do think it has a lot to do with him getting a character and personality over more so than his wrestling in NXT when NXT was all about wrestling.
That's true.
And I think we saw main roster potential.
Yeah, because I've had discussions with my brother about this where it was like it seemed like he was sports entertainment in the wrestling circuit kind of thing, but he was older, you know what I mean? So it makes sense why he was priming himself to try to get that main event crossover appeal. But we also were discussing how that distinct gimmick was probably not made for a 10,000 audience member a night or weekly, you know what I mean? Because it was like after a while, you know, they're not going to be yelling 10 all the time. It's going to be kind of like Zack Ryder, and you know, after a while, a lot of his you know, woo woos dissipated and stuff like that. But it worked for, you know, if you're at the Riverside Municipal Auditorium, you know, where it's like, oh hell yeah, like 300 people, 500 people here yelling, you know, yeah, it works, dude. Like I mean, I can't tell you how many people were in the Full Sail before. Man, it's crazy that they haven't been at Full Sail this whole time.
You would
Man,
think they would have moved back somewhat by now, but maybe they're just playing it safe.
yeah, I
Or maybe
mean,
they really like the Capitol. Was it Capitol Wrestling Building or
the
whatever it's
Capitol
called?
Wrestling Center. I mean, it's not all they did was they furnished the building and just called it, like they renamed it something though, like a classic arena
Yeah.
from back in the day. But I'm not mad at it, dude. I mean, I love that they still have their own look. You know, they haven't really taken on the entire Thunderdome situation, which, yeah, I don't know if you had a chance to catch my story. I didn't get a chance
Yeah.
to jump on, but interesting process. I mean, it was just like, you know, I was just there forever. So, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm gonna try again. If I get some succession, I'll definitely freaking film that shit. I mean, they'll probably kick me off for filming it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were
They're
probably looking at me through my camera to see if I was filming it. That's why they let me in the whole time. They're like, nah, this guy, there's something off about this guy. But you know,
Quincy Jones.
how'd you what'd you think about the main event for SmackDown?
The best thing about it is, and I don't know how long people are gonna be talking about this, but it does open up, and this is not a very WWE thing to do, and I don't even think it's necessarily them. I think it's more Daniel Bryan. But we all care about what's next for Daniel Bryan now. And we don't know if it's going to be contract related. We don't know if he's going to Raw. We don't know if he's going to NXT. If he's going to take 6 months off. We have no idea what's going to happen, and we could kind of put puzzle pieces together. And I think that's what we got from the match. And it's really dope that there was a high stakes, good wrestling match on television. And that
Yeah,
and
and they made it feel really important, which I thought
mhm.
was I mean, not that SmackDown fails at that, but I mean, again, like to your credit, like it's been a while. I mean, remember back in the day, we used to get title changes on TV all the time. Like
Oh yeah.
we kind of took it for granted. Like we would get big time championship changes too. And but I also enjoyed the fact that even though sometimes you wouldn't even believe the championship would change, I love the fact that there would be like a big time match. I mean, but that was back when, you know, you had like 6, 7, 8 guys you can call on, you know what I mean? That were big time. Now, I mean, you barely see like a full blown like championship match on TV. This was great though. This was definitely pay-per-view quality. I mean, what do you think about I forgot to mention Roman Reigns got some new music. I mean, I can't say that I like it yet, but
I'm gonna say this.
it took me by surprise for sure.
Is it amazing? No. But for years I've been saying Roman Reigns needs his own music, and it's not the worst music I've ever heard. I'm gonna take it.
No, I think my only my if I'm gonna be a stickler here, which I usually am, it remind like it's one of those things where me coming from like a music background, I can tell 100%. Like you can listen to a producer like, oh, okay, that's the same guy to produce this, the same guy to produce that. So you could tell like from Seth Rollins' theme music, this is Cesaro's theme music to Bailey's theme music, and now like Roman Reigns, you could tell it's all the same producer because
And
they
you know,
sound so similar.
and the issue is some of these themes are being sound the same. The beginning of Bobby Lashley's theme sounds exactly like the beginning of Io Shirai's theme.
Oh
And
shit, I forgot about that.
yeah, Seth Rollins and Bailey basically had the same thing. Like you could accidentally play Bailey's
Well,
theme
they
when Seth Rollins
actually,
came out, and we would be no one would
yeah,
notice.
yeah. I just thought about it though. He did just change it again. At WrestleMania, it's like an updated version of like the Burn It Down.
Mhm.
So they did, but yeah, when he was doing the whole like Messiah thing, yeah, I was like, oh, is this Bailey or is this Seth Rollins coming out? Like for sure, they sounded all the same. So
I
yeah,
don't know.
I'm not
I don't
mad at it.
care. I would pay CFO more money than they're paying John Cena right now
I would,
to sit at home.
I would.
CFO is proving that they are the most important employee that the WWE has ever had. And because just
Dude,
think about Sean Spears is a nobody wrestler. No offense to Sean Spears. I love Sean Spears. We're big for Sean Spears.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
he was so low on that card and ended up being a nobody on the main roster to
But
but,
that music made him,
but that
though.
theme,
Yeah,
even people that didn't get on TV had hot themes.
yeah.
And the wrestling theme is everything in my opinion. Like if you're a
Yeah,
good wrestler but you have an ass theme, no one wants to see you come out.
it's like the preview before like the movie, or it's like the snippet before the full song comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what's going to be the hook. If you come out and you have a trash song, I mean, well, it might be good if you're a heel and you want people to boo you anyways, right? Because that's what I was thinking. That was my thought process with Roman Reigns. Like, even if like like I said, I need to sit with it, but even if after a while I'm done, I process it and I don't like it, I'm not supposed to like it. He's a heel. You know what I mean? I'm not. I mean, like, I think the reason why I was surprised with this because I thought if they were going to switch it up, I thought they'd find something a little bit more badass sounding, I guess. But again, it's something different. It's something we've been asking for years. So I just got to sit with it, just like I did with the Roman Reigns heel turn when it finally happened.
And
so.
if you're the WWE right now, and I feel like they made this mistake with Seth Rollins, because I honestly didn't care that he was the Messiah and had the burn it down thing. Like I still thought it worked, but then they changed it to that Bailey theme. But
yeah.
Right now, if I'm the WWE, the only mistake I can make right now is, as much as I personally don't like that he had the Shield theme, he's had it for so long, and they just played it at WrestleMania. Just let him keep it until you get a better producer in there.
Like I think it was weird for me. It felt weird. I was like, wait, what? He's not coming down to like. I've never been the guy that's like, oh, here comes Roman's music. You know what I mean? Like you said, he's had it forever. But until he turned heel, it just was kind of a badass theme to play after he just left somebody laying. You know what I mean?
Even if they had the beginning part where it was like, ah, and then it went to the and it would have been like, oh, okay, like
because or if they wanted to add like some sort of like I don't want to call it I guess tribal because he's the tribal chief with some sort of because if you notice like they even updated like Apollo's theme with a little bit of like Nigerian drums in it and stuff like that, or I guess African drums, whatever. I don't know. By the way, I thought it was weird how they're gonna call it like it's all about alliteration with WWE instead of the Nigerian nail. Remember, it was the Samoan spike. So they got to do something, I guess.
right.
But as far as the match, I thought it was a great match. I did like well, one thing I thought was kind of dumb is how like Daniel Bryan was working clearly on his left hand the whole match, and then out of nowhere he starts working on the right hand. Or the right arm, and they're like, "Oh, the arm he's been working on the whole match." I'm like,
I was like, come on, guys.
No, dude.
That's what you get for having Pat McAfee there.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he's been killing. He's been killing. I've been enjoying Pat Mac very.
I've been enjoying him, but this is the type of match where I do feel like it needed like Corey Graves.
Yeah,
I'm not the biggest Corey Graves guy anymore. I used to be super high on Corey Graves, especially when he was in NXT and
I was gonna say
of Raw.
His NXT was great before he started playing a character, more of a character on main roster, like the heel stuff he was doing with Saxton. But yeah, when he was on NXT, yeah, I was a big fan of that. Yeah,
the thing is, Corey Graves knows what he's watching, and I think that's
very true.
That's what might have been needed. Like even if they had like they couldn't even played it off like, hey, we have Pat, we have Michael Cole, and just for this special match, we have Corey Graves here also, to give his input on what's going on. He's been watching both these guys for years, so maybe that's the reason why he's there. You don't have to make it special, but it could just be when they go like side camera to the announcer table, like, oh, we're being joined by Corey Graves, also called like the biggest match.
I mean, and it wouldn't be a huge deal because they only have a 2-man booth on SmackDown, so that would be a reason to bring a third guy in. It wouldn't be like it wouldn't be like the old WrestleMania brand split, commentary where you'd hear like 4 guys where you're like, wait, is that King? Wait, why is King on commentary and it's a Raw match? Then you hear the Raw guy, you're like, what the hell's going on, dude?
And I can see a lot of people being like, why, it's only been 2 weeks and you're not gonna give this announcing team a chance. I'm like, I get it. I like Pat a lot, and I think Michael Cole and him actually worked pretty well together. It's just like there was moments where I'm like, Pat, and Michael Cole's been doing this for 47 years, but even he misses calls all the time. So like,
dude, he just missed the one at the Bianca Belair one. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah. So the match was really good. I ended up watching the highlights earlier, and then I watched the whole thing in full. I found some time to do that.
I was surprised that Jimmy didn't get involved sooner, like during the match. Yeah, I didn't mind it, man. I thought the switch on the guillotine was pretty effective as
That
well.
was one of the best spots.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I had no complaints about it, to be honest. I was surprised that they had as much time as they had, because it was like, I think when I was watching it, 25 minutes left in the program, but then of course you got Roman who hits like a 5-minute entrance. So I was like, all right, cool, 20 minutes, that's fine. I was like, I'm not complaining about that.
And going back to his theme, because you kind of brought it up again, is if they ever bring back the Shield now, which with Dean not being there, but maybe it'll just be him and Seth. When that Shield music plays, it's gonna feel better, or it's gonna feel more meaningful, because like it kind of sucked when Roman Reigns brought the Shield back together in that Braun Strowman feud, and then it basically just sounded like Roman Reigns is coming out to his own theme, but he's got two friends behind him now.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's true. That is the upside, because once that music hits again, if ever, because there's people who think that he should reform it with the Usos, which I wouldn't be mad at it, but I don't know how the people would really react to it.
I like the tribal stuff with the Usos. Like,
yeah, I do.
When
I
it's
do
the Shield,
well.
it should just be the Shield. Like, even if like it was for like a one time, even if it's just him and Seth at some point, because they can't get Dean. Like, just like how DX eventually it has a history of having more than two people, but eventually just ended up being Triple H and Shawn.
Yeah,
like,
true.
WWE's got a WWE sometimes. So
yeah, that's true. It's the same like when. It was almost the same, I guess, when when Road Dogg and Billy Gunn tried to do it, the same thing in TNA.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they're like, well, we're still doing it, but we can't call it DX, but we're still part of it. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's like it still counts, damn it. But if you got 2 out of 3, and they're two, arguably the strongest, because as far as like how presentation and booking, obviously Dean was booked like the third guy there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You look at the immediate attention they gave to Seth and Roman once they did the split, and Dean fought for everything, dude, and he or Jon Moxley, I guess I should say now, but so many matches he wrestled, just I don't know, it's crazy. I don't see him ever going back for a reunion. I see him still being friends with those guys. I don't know if he'll ever go back to WWE, and if he does, I don't know if he'll ever want to do the Shield again.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's at the Hall of Fame someday, like 10, 15, 20 years from now.
I could see that, yeah.
When they put the Shield in, and it's those, and they do the fist pump on stage, everyone thinks it's a cool moment. But
the way they should play that is they should just, because Mox will probably still not be in WWE, so they should just not even show him until he comes out on stage.
You think they would prepare a storyline pop at the Hall of Fame? Because I would mark for that,
dude. Like, I think that'll be a great look. Like, I think WWE would be, by then, I hate to say it, but I think it would be Triple H who would be the person that would oversee that. I think he would be okay with having it, because if you think about it, it's not his moment, it's the moment that they're creating for WWE. It's going to be in WWE networks forever, and they're all about the pop. You know what I mean? So it's like, I could see them wanting to play ball where, say, if he never comes back, but they wanted to honor them, and the first time we see him on WWE TV in years is when he comes out at the Hall of Fame, and that's when he hits the fist bump. That'd be fucking money, dude.
That would be money. I would like, though, if eventually Triple H is the one that takes over, and let's just say it's within the next 10 years. I would like to see Moxley, Roman Reigns, and Seth properly have their rivalries and maybe eventual team up happen properly.
Well, what's the chances you think of you know what, that might increase the chances, and because just based on his many interviews, he's talked about a lot as far as like Vince McMahon and his ways, and him being stuck in his ways being extremely detrimental to a lot of the creative process and just the passion of a lot of people that work there. So if he's out the way and it is Triple H, which it seems like he does have a better rapport with, what are the chances you think that of him actually leaving AEW to go back?
I wouldn't be surprised if Dean eventually left AEW just to do his own thing for a little bit anyways. So I don't even think like he's necessarily, like, I do think he's loyal to AEW. I'm not saying he's not, but I don't think he's necessarily like saying like he has to be there, or it's either that or WWE. I do think he can eventually leave, do his own thing, do some independent stuff for a while. Maybe do New Japan for a bit if you wanted to.
I could see him with a solid like 5-year You know, if he just did like 5-6 years in AEW and never went back, I wouldn't be mad at that, to be honest. I mean, I don't expect him to spend the next 20 years there. You know what I mean? Like
he wrestles a style that I do think like you take all the deathmatch ass stuff he does out of it, and he does wrestle somewhat of a slower pace than a lot of wrestlers. So he could still put in another 10 to 15 years if he really wanted to. And he doesn't seem like he's ever had an issue with WWE itself. It's been more so the people who work there.
Yeah, I haven't heard again. You know, I don't think he's really said anything like major about like Triple H or anything. I mean, obviously, he had a lot to say about Vince and just the stuff that he was putting him through, and you know, him just the microscope that Vince saw him through as far as being this goofy character, which he's like, dude, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Again, I think if those obstacles are out the way, there's he doesn't have to worry about that. If he's made assurances that he doesn't have to worry about someone walking up to him with a piece of paper for him to read off of, stuff like that, I mean, I think, you know, if there's some major changes, I think we could see him back. I don't know how soon, but like I said, I wouldn't be mad if he just dropped off, you know, 2-3 more years, 4 more years at AEW and went to go do his own thing, like you said. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Because I mean, he's almost in his 40s now. He's like his late 30s right now, right?
Late 30s. He might already be 40 something.
Oh, possible shit. Let me see.
He's been wrestling for ages. But he was wrestling back in the day.
I'm thinking he's like maybe 38 or something like that.
I'm gonna Google that right now. Let me ask you this. Let me see what's more likely. So let's just say Triple H does take over and he's a little bit more laxed with. He's only 35.
Yeah, see, I thought he was like.
I thought he was like already in his late 30s because I feel like he's been wrestling since.
So like, if he were to go back to WWE, you know, in his 40s, I wouldn't be mad at that.
He signed with WWE in 2011. That's why I was like, he
spent a lot of time there. Yeah, I was about to say he was almost there for a decade, which I guess you got to include the all the FCW stuff that molded into the NXT stuff, the early days and all that. But man.
Yeah. Let me ask you this though. So Triple H has a little mate. Hopefully, I wouldn't be surprised though if Triple H is just as strict as Vince is with working relationships and holding grudges. I'm not saying Triple H is above that, but I'm gonna say,
I do think that he's a little bit more open-minded with his pettiness.
What if Jon Moxley? Because I think Triple H is all about the moments, and I do think if he has a different mindset in terms of like, as much as there is competition, you could still use that competition to make your product look good. And I think like
if done properly,
What if it's like a WrestleMania? He's still working for AEW, but Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns are getting their ass beat, and then Dean Ambrose makes the save just for that one moment, and then he goes back to AEW.
See, the only thing is the only thing with that is they would have to not call him Dean Ambrose. Because he wouldn't be Dean Ambrose. Like if he's not staying here, right? That's the only thing I'm thinking. It's like, oh my God, like you hear Michael Cole calling him, and then it's like, nope, I'm back to Jon Moxley. I'm on Dynamite now. Like, you know, like
it would be really cool though if you hear Michael Cole say that's Dean Ambrose, and then someone corrects him, like, no, that's Jon Moxley. And
it would have to be Corey Graves.
Yeah.
Corey Graves, or I guess maybe Pat McAfee if they want to give him the lob, but that would be a cool moment as well, because the only reason why that would work is because it's not like they don't call Farouk Ron Simmons like a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or so it's like, you know, they acknowledge who he was, but they acknowledge who he is too at the same time. So
I think a lot of WWE, when you get rid of the Vinceisms, eventually it will be a different product. And even if they still keep some of their standards of like, we don't mention this, we don't do that, but I do think like Triple H, for the right moment and to make his product better, would do the right thing.
Yeah, we've seen him. You know, what do you call it? At a point he would call it the reality era, right, where he would actually bring some real shit in there, which I think is what makes it interesting, because wrestling happens in real time now. So we can't believe like somebody talked bad about someone last week and then it took them a whole week to, you know, get on TV. They had to wait till they had a camera in front of them to teach them a lesson about it. It's like, dude, you've been like, it's so, wrestling moves so fast now and there's so much access to it. It's almost like they have to create this universe that happens outside of TV and all this stuff. And I think Triple H is smart enough to know about that, because as we've seen it with some of the things that they did with like Adam and Kyle O'Reilly fighting, at his BJJ freaking dojo and shit like that. Stuff like that is interesting because it shows that it can cross past the freaking TV, and then it creates that urgency as a fan to, man, I need to figure out where I got to keep up on this. You know what I mean? I don't want to miss this. And I think Triple H is smart enough to understand that. And like you said, the Vince-isms, I'm almost willing to believe that if those Vince-isms are gone, it might actually create a much better working environment for a lot of these men and women on the roster, where they may even have feel like they have more freedom, or at least a little bit less eggshells to walk on as far as trying something new, going out of their comfort zone and trying to see what lands, what works, what doesn't. Because that's the problem, I think, is there's so much people scared of their job where they don't take the risk. Like, and it's easy for me to say it, right, outside looking in, but dude, I'm watching these old, I keep putting over these documentaries on A&E. The first one they did was with Stone Cold, and I probably heard the story a million times, but it's still crazy to me. He went to the hospital during the King of the Ring because he got his lip busted open by, I think, Mark Marrow. Came back, didn't have time to prepare for a promo, but freaking Doc Hendricks or P.S. Hayes tells him, oh, Jake, he already said something about you. He's like, oh, what'd he say? He's like, he mentioned some like Bible verses and stuff. That's all he told him. And then he goes and wins the match, drops Austin 316 just because all he heard was he dropped some stuff and freaking took off, dude. Like stuff like that. Yeah. Like you can't make that up. Like the next night on Raw, people are coming up with Austin 316 signs. He said the whole bottom line thing he just came up with off the top of his head. That wasn't planned. I'm like, you can't plan stuff like that. That's crazy. But I've seen such a ridiculous decline of that, man. And it's kind of sad. Like, yeah, we get bigger, larger than life personalities with the Aleister Blacks, like the Fiend and stuff like that, but they don't feel like stars, man, like they used to. You know what I'm saying? Like, like even if like I hated Triple H, I still knew he was a big deal as a heel. Where like Baron Corbin to me doesn't feel like that. I can miss a Baron Corbin match. I don't give a fuck. But but I hear Triple H is about to go against Jericho and he's gonna put the strap up. Oh, I want to freaking watch that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I want to see Jericho. I want to see Triple H get his ass whipped. I don't get that feel anymore where I'm willing to watch to see somebody get their ass whipped. I don't buy into it as much as I used to anymore because I don't feel like these guys buy into their own character that they're forced to play. You know what I mean?
Right. And I do think, like, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to be real about this. I think everything Paul Heyman in terms of a micro level that he has a hand in is really good. Because I think he makes something that's 100% good, shows it to Vince, and Vince brings it down to maybe 80% good. But that's still better than what Raw is doing. Yeah. So breaking that down, like, I'm going to be real with you. I think, how should I put this? Cesaro is probably more over now after tonight, getting his ass beat and watching Daniel Bryan get concertoed than winning it against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Like, that's personally how I feel, because we're now basically saying you're the next one in line. You're going to be the next one that's going to have to face Roman Reigns, and they're making it seem like Cesaro has to be the one that takes him down.
I was going to say that was the way that they did it. I don't know whose idea that was, but the presentation of it was very well done. Where, like you said, we did get, earlier, you said earlier, we get this concern genuinely for what's next for Daniel Bryan, because we're like, well, we didn't think he was going to lose this, but then you think about Cesaro now, who kind of is taking over that spot that he just left wide open for him. And especially now you got Roman Reigns getting even more heat because he already kicks Daniel Bryan off the show, but then he has to concerto him and he does it in front of him. And Jimmy jumps him, and Jimmy can't allow the fact that Cesaro got 2 in on Roman, and because that's his ass. They built the drama really, really well. So I'm glad you did bring that up, because I did find myself genuinely like, man, so I wanted, it seems like Cesaro was on his way. Like, because I watched the way he went and just attacked Roman too. I was like, hey, I don't know if anyone's ever brought it to Roman like that, which already, that intrigues me now too. You know what I mean? So now it could be a case as Roman ducking you because he felt himself how good you are,
And
I
most
like
likely
the hypotheticals, you know. So
yeah, Cesaro's not going to probably take the title off him.
but he's gonna come out better than he comes in, 100%. Yeah.
But what if he did? Even if
Yeah.
it was for 1 week, like he beats Roman at Money in the Bank, and then he loses it again the next on some bullshit finish from Jey Uso on SmackDown. Like, is that ideal? What we want because we think Cesaro deserves better? Of course we do, but Cesaro's now putting himself in a position. Like, I think the shot of him being tied to the ropes, looking up at Roman doing it. It wasn't just like he was tied to the ropes watching Roman. He was looking up at. He brought it to Roman to the point where they had to bring Cesaro back down.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
No, it was metaphorical. You're right. Yeah.
and then now, but the best part is, and hopefully it's slow burns. Seth Rollins is still involved. Jey Uso is someone he still has to get through to get to Roman. Like, this could get them to at least a B-level pay-per-view right before SummerSlam or to SummerSlam. Or I think Money in the Bank is becoming a big one as well. Also, Cesaro can maybe just win the Money in the Bank. Like,
That's true.
There's a lot of options right now.
That's a really
good Cesaro.
I mean, to be honest, if it's not him, I don't know who else deserves it right now, to be honest. I mean, it plays so well up to the storyline because I could still see Roman not thinking he's worthy enough. He's not on his level to want to even, like, he said it before. It's no. It's always going to be no. So he can't say no if he gets cashed in on. You know what I mean? So
low key though, I think they're building for Sami Zayn to be the perfect Money in the Bank winner this year.
You know what? He had an interesting segment too with Apollo, and you had Kevin Owens, of course. They had the rematch for the IC title between Apollo and Big E. First of all, that haluva kick was ridiculous. I mean, he keeps hitting it really nice. I was kind of mad that he ended up getting attacked by what's his name? What, I don't even know what the fuck his name is.
Aziz Ansari or something.
Aziz Ansari.
Yeah.
Fucking because I was like thinking about this. He sold me on, like, dude, we're cool. Like that whole scene he was doing where he's like, yeah, we're good. No issue. I was like, man, he's good. He's selling me on this. I wouldn't be mad if Sammy got it. I mean, I feel like he's been doing some of the best work of his career right now. Though I do miss the old Sammy where he took on John Cena with a dislocated shoulder. You can't
right.
Can't buy those.
Heart and soul. Yeah, I do think they're building to a fatal 4-way for the IC title because of all this. But I do like the fact that they're just not partnering, letting the heels just be partners. But going back to my beef with AEW earlier, but I can see Sami Zayn winning the Money in the Bank, trying to cash it in constantly, but then something happens and he still thinks it's a controversy of some sort of, like, or a conspiracy theory of people keeping him from winning the championship. Like, people are down, but then when he's trying to call in a ref never comes, or something like that of that nature.
I can see that. That'd be really. I mean, if it would definitely give the current storyline the amount of legs it needs, because I felt like the camera team, the filming crew, I thought it was great, but I knew it had to end at some point because the documentary has to come out or whatever they're going to do with it. And then when they kind of pulled the trigger on that, I'm like, okay, then what's next? So that would be honestly, I mean, you are the head writer here on the Flow Show. So, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at that if that was the angle of it.
Ideally, the real story, even though I do think Sami Zayn's the perfect Money in the Bank winner, ideally the story should be that Kevin Owens starts to see the conspiracy himself and he starts to team up with Sami Zayn, and we get the tag team run that we've always wanted from those two.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about that for a minute. We're like, man, I mean, we just need the right booking, I guess, to get them there to make it make sense. But as long as you weren't going to say that we need to do Otis getting a redo at the Money in the Bank, that'd be great.
Oh, but they should put him in the match. I'm going to say that right now. I
mean, I could see him, but then I could also, if they do that, then they're gonna have to have Gable like take credit the entire time for the, have him like insist on always being the one that holds it, or like have it handcuffed to him and like be like, no, I got it. Don't worry about it, big guy. And then but it's like the whole time he's like, no, this is mine. Like, he's like freaking just festering over it, just waiting for the right time to screw him
Yeah,
for it or something.
Otis should not win it at all. But I do think he should be in the
No, I
match.
don't want him to. No,
I do
but
think he should be in the match as the person that everyone he won it last year, maybe got screwed over, and Chad Gable could kind of train him for it. Or Chad Gable says like, "Hey man, you're my partner. You've already done this before. You should let me have your spot." And then
yeah, I can see that.
but
Like,
that's
just
already breaking
trust
up a
me.
team.
Trust
Yeah,
in the Alpha Academy, but come on, big guy. Who's my guy?
right.
He's so good, dude. Speaking of weird people teaming, before we get out of here,
Mhm.
what's your take on this RK Bro situation that they're trying to push?
Okay.
I mean, I feel like there has to be an eventual turn. I mean, especially you had Corey Graves who kept trying to sell it on Monday.
I think if they give it a good first of all, I always look at it from a perspective of, well, what is, because I think the WWE looks at it from like what's the immediate outcome, right? But then they don't think the long term outcome. But what's the long term outcome from this? Is like, do we want to see more Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre or anything like that, or do we want to
That's
see Matt
true.
Riddle get his ass kicked for a mid card title? No, we want. So in my opinion, they should keep it going until they realize maybe Matt Riddle's been put over enough through this process where then he gets the one-on-one match with Randy Orton at Hell in a Cell or something. Like I do
Yeah,
think
that's
they need a
true.
tag, and this is a blessing and a curse. The tag team divisions in the WWE are both so shit that you could easily just
Bro.
put the titles on RK Bro, and we would be like, you know what, it's better now. You could do
But
the same thing with Sami
okay,
Zayn and Kevin Owens. It's
so
better now.
I gotta get on my soapbox about that because what pisses me off is I just read that first of all, where the fuck are the Raw Tag Team Champions? They're nowhere. Like, you know why?
Apparently they're celebrating Nigeria, right?
Like they're freaking still in WrestleMania, I guess, because we haven't seen them since. And then I read why they don't have anything for them. How you not have
So
anything for AJ? I get it as a duo. All right, I get that, right? But it's like the reason why I'm mad is not because of that specifically. It's the fact that you took the titles off of Hurt Business. You split them up just to create this whole scenario at WrestleMania to check a fucking box off for AJ Styles. And I love AJ Styles. Just to not have anything for him post Mania, like that was a big fucking like I admit there has to be an eventual split of the Hurt Business, but that was way too early in his reign, in his
Well, the
title
Hurt
reign
business
for it
should
to
never get
happen.
split. Even if they lost the titles, they should have still stayed with Bobby.
Yeah,
So
I felt like
that's a
yeah.
discussion for like I guess another time,
Oh,
right?
100%. Because
We could do a whole 1 hour show on that.
I was gonna say we would definitely get in trouble if we didn't have Baka and Mac on that one. But yeah, like,
Yeah.
but it's just shit like that. I'm like like you said, the tag team division is just like shit right now. It's like I don't understand.
It's legitimately non-existent, and it bugs me. I'm not gonna lie to you. It bugs me when they have tag matches that are not even involved for the time. For example, like Chad Gable and the Mysterios had a small little feud. I get that because I want my tag teams to have feuds that are outside the title. But
Yeah,
when the title's not even relevant, then why aren't they going for the title?
yeah.
Like
I
if
mean,
the
they've been toying with the idea that both teams are trying to, I guess, win towards the opportunity, but it hasn't been like set in stone, like you said, like it hasn't been like an official stipulation or anything like that. But yeah,
and I'm gonna be honest with you, and I've made the case here, and I know Bach is a huge Mysterio fan, and he's not here, so I'm not a big fan of Ray or Dominic Mysterio. I think Dominic Mysterio should go to the Performance Center for another 2 years.
I 100% agree.
So, but you know
I
what?
do.
They have very recognizable names. Rey Mysterio could carry that team. They should be the tag champions and then have a feud with the Street Profits for the Street Profits eventually to get over by beating the Mysterios, at least Rey Mysterio. On the Raw side of things, we were told that Osmos, or what is it, Almost,
Almost. Yeah.
he got hurt at Mania, and then I heard
Did
that
he?
wasn't true.
Oh, what? I didn't even hear that. Yeah, I didn't hear the first. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I apparently heard that
Oh,
he got hurt, and then
then
that's why they were off TV. But then I heard your thing after, is like they weren't hurt, they just don't have anything for them. How do you not? How do you have the New Day have something for Elias and Jackson Riker, And how do you have RK Bro forming this week? How do you have the Hurt Business putting them over? And how do you have the Viking Raiders back, but you don't have anything for AJ Styles and almost?
You would think that the Viking Raiders would try to go towards the tag titles to make it. I mean, since the newest team in the mix, since the entire pandemic. I mean, to me, it's weird. It's weird that they're trying to float this retribution tag team when it's like, first of all,
I even forgot about that.
Dude, like you take the masks off. Now they got this freaking whatever makeup on, paint on their face and shit, and it's like, bro, just let Donovan Dijak go back to freaking NXT, have him challenge Cross, who's the one that put him out to begin with. It would be a great look. It'd be a great defense for Cross. Like, I mean, I'm not against Dio Madden, but I mean, you guys have to cut your losses here. Like, I mean, it's not like we see, Slapjack still trying to perform as Slapjack on SmackDown.
If you're, and I know they like that Mace he looks impressive, but the tag team would have been 10 times better if it was Slapjack and T-Bar.
Yeah.
Like, we all know it's Shane Thorne, right? Shane Thorne could go.
Yeah.
Like, he could go.
Yeah, he can.
He needed to. And so
I think he needed it more. I mean, Dio Madden, I think he could be dealing with doing something else with somebody else. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like, it's weird that 1 week you're Retribution and the next week you take the masks off and you guys are rocking a semi normal version of what you usually wear before you turn to Retribution, but you're still the same names. Like,
I do think what Mace needed, to be honest, was for him to be the only one that's loyal to Mustafa Ali.
That makes sense.
Like, there's not Retribution anymore, but
he spoke the least. He spoke the least, but spoke a lot with his body. Like, he had a lot of body language. But yeah, he could be as heavy. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that.
And then he has good spots. They maybe have a small tag run together, but Ali's doing the majority of the work. But like, when he's in a match or a handicap match with Drew McIntyre, and by the way, you know how bad Raw is? I can't believe we didn't. This wasn't a head story. Braun Strowman fucking had 3 matches on Raw.
Yeah, now he had a tag match. No, he had a tag match, a handicap match, and a singles match, right? Is that what? And then I guess he made history.
Outwork everyone, right? Out fucking work everyone.
Seriously, dude. I mean, like, it's bad now. You had Daniel Bryan with the singles and the triple threat at Mania, but no, he's better than Daniel Bryan. It's like,
dude, like,
oh man,
you have the majority of the Raw roster template. Like, I think I'd rather see Mace have 3 matches on Raw. Like, I don't.
Oh, man, that's saying a lot. Shit. I mean, like,
I don't even want to see. Okay, I don't hate Braun Strowman, but he's done. Like, I don't care anymore. You need to send him home and bring him back differently. And you should have done it earlier this year when he was already fucking at home. I don't care. Like, he is Baron Corbin, like, go away heat for me at this point. Like, and the thing is, there's so much potential. I loved Braun Strowman three years ago, but go away heat. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him in the world title match. I don't want to see him going for the United States title. I don't want to see him in a tag match. I don't want to see him on TV. If you want, send him to SmackDown. Maybe he could go against Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns could prove again that he's better than Braun Strowman. I don't know. I would hate to see that too. I don't want to see Braun Strowman on my TV. Like, I'm just being real about it. Like, I do think he contributes something. I do think he contributes something to the company. So
him, just his size, obviously, he provides a threat on TV that they can write for. They can use for as far as like getting someone over. But yeah, the presentation, man, it's like I mean, to be honest, like he should have never done anything with Shane McMahon. That whole stupid Braun thing was just that was just a whole flop for me. Did we need to see him throw Shane off the top of the cage on Mania? No. Is it a moment? Yeah, but I mean, like, that's all he has. That's all Braun Strowman has is these moments. You know what I mean?
If I were told you to go back to WrestleMania and say, tell me 10 things that happened at WrestleMania, do you think one of the 10 things you'd remember is Shane getting thrown off the cage?
only
If I
out
said,
of
tell me 10 things.
only I was gonna say only out of necessity for having to remember that many things. It's because many. I mean, like I said, like I enjoy night one more than night two, but I mean, as far as what can I remember? Bianca, big win. You know what I mean? Roman retained. Oh yeah, there's the cage spot. I mean, I would have to try to go for like the things that stood out. But I mean, like, yeah, that's out of necessity of the question. Like, I'm not gonna be like 10 years from now, hey man, you remember that one time where Braun Strowman just, man, he could have been something, man. Like, but you know what? I agree with you. I think the best case scenario for him, and this is a last ditch effort. Literally, I don't know where they go from here. Hopefully, he doesn't become like what Ryback became with after he became a Heyman guy, because that just totally ruined him. But I can see Strowman as a face, kind of, because Roman is too good as what he's doing right now. I can see Roman getting into something really, some high profile program, right? Say it's Cesaro, just for the sake of just putting someone there. And then, say like they had, this is the final match that's going to culminate, and he goes to hell with freaking Cesaro and comes back still champion, right? And then when you least expect it, have Strowman hit the ring, but look like Strowman of old, maybe even some more tattoos, whatever. Maybe even leaner or not leaner, but more muscle, whatever. Have him just fucking wreck him. And right when they go off the air, have him scream, "I'm not done with you yet." And have him go back to that shit where he was tossing him off of the loading bays and shit. You know what I mean? And like when he was like when it was like a Looney Tune cartoon between those guys, like that's when he was the most over, because everybody enjoyed watching Roman get battered because they could not stand him at the time. So it's like, it'd be interesting to see how it is now if they were to go back to that. It doesn't have to be like a happy-go-lucky face, you know what I mean? But it'd be interesting, he's like, dude, I couldn't get the job done on Raw. I'm going back to the title that I lost to the Fiend, whatever. I think it'd be probably the best case scenario for Roman,
Not only that, I'm gonna add something to it, and you can say it's bullshit if you want.
No, it's all good.
When he hits the ring, Jey Uso is the one who first approaches him, and he just throws him up to the side and then goes after Roman. And Jey Uso can't do anything about it. Like Jey Uso is even like hitting maybe Braun Strowman while he's about to do the power slam on Roman.
Hell yeah, because then you got Roman, who's like, he's so comfortable. But now he doesn't have his security blanket. He doesn't have his, you know what I mean? Like that creates what they call a web of doubt, where it's like, oh shit. I mean, I kind of already knew that he was capable of this because he's the monster among men, but man, the way he's kind of just going about it, doing what he wants, like, because I think that's what's missing, is like he acts like he's this monster that can do anything he wants whenever he wants, but he's so regulated on the show that that's not true. But whereas you got him going up against a guy like Roman, who actively shows that he, quote unquote, in character runs the show, and then you got a guy who's like, I'm still going to challenge that, and there's nothing you can do to stop that. I think that's where the interest is. I mean, I think that's where the interest may come back for a guy like Strowman. And
they can't do this whole like him being sensitive, being called stupid thing either.
That's my dude.
Like they have to, like, if someone calls him stupid, he should just be like, all right, fine, and then later on just kick his ass, but don't say anything about it. Like, don't say, don't call me stupid, I'll show you stupid, and then do something. Like, no, just like,
he should be more like
Shane McMahon calls him stupid, and then be like, all right, just like okay, fine. And then later that night, power slam Shane McMahon.
It's like, how stupid am I now? Or do something where it was like, who's the stupid guy now? You know what I mean? Where he can throw it back at him. Or I mean, I wouldn't even be mad if Strowman started wanting to be like more of like that intellectual giant, kind of like a Brody, a Bruiser Brody. Kane had some sparks of it at a few points in his career as well, but someone that's like, yeah, I'm huge, but dude, I'm smart as fuck and I can outsmart you. Like, that's kind of scary. You know what I mean? I think that's what they were trying to lean more towards with Lars Sullivan. That's why I fucking hate this stupid thing, because it reminds me of the Lars Sullivan thing they were trying to do with him on SmackDown, where he was trying to play like the victim and And but though I showed those kids, and he was like being on some real creepy shit. Like that's kind of where I'm getting those vibes. That's why I'm like just rebelling against that shit. But God damn it, Brian, I think we saved him. I think we may have saved him.
I'm gonna throw this out there too. Like, just because you're bigger now doesn't give you a right to be all pissy about the bullies in your past. Like, I think that's the issue. I think where they lose their fans. Like,
yeah, dude. Because
just because you're bigger now, like, no, like,
dude, like compared,
you were
compared
probably
to
big back then.
well, I was gonna say I saw a picture that he posted the other day where he was a big boy, man. Like he had to lose a lot of weight before he did a lot of progress to get to where he's at. So that's why I'm like, bro, if I look like you and I don't look like how I used to, I wouldn't like. That's like I don't know if you ever saw that movie Central Intelligence with The Rock and Kevin Hart. That's like The Rock was still like traumatized from like the high school stuff, even though he turned out to look like himself. It just kind of almost didn't make sense, right? You're like, dude, you should be more confident in your skin. If anything, you should none of that should slide off your back with the way you look now. You know what I mean? So
and just because you weigh 300 pounds, you're a dipshit. Like
I mean, and I think I said it before. I'm like, don't pull the trigger on this program with Shane unless you're gonna have him do it with the Mean Streak Posse, and then they, as a group, be those stupid jocks in the from high school that made fun of Billy Bob and Varsity Blues or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know, dude. Like I get tired of it, but yeah, I think we may have just saved it.
The Roman thing is 10 times better than what I'm about to say. But since me, tag division shit. I think that's just gonna be the slogan of the podcast. Tag division shit. You could throw anything in the tag division, and as long as it seems this much relevant, we're gonna be like, I'm buying in. That's how I feel about RK Bro. I'm like, I'm buying in a little bit, right? How would you feel? AJ Styles and Omos still have the titles, but it's basically just AJ Styles having singles matches, and then they really don't defend the titles too much, but they do every once in a while, and Omos just totally destroys the other team.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's AJ Styles, right? And AJ Styles starts having a little feud with Bray Wyatt, but not the Fiend, just Bray Wyatt.
That'd be actually kind of funny.
And then it gets to the point though where, but Bray Wyatt can't, for whatever reason, he just can't find the Fiend. I don't know why. But Bray Wyatt can't approach Omos or whatever, right? And I've called him 6 different names in this storyline.
No, you got it. You got it good.
But Braun Strowman's the one who goes face to face with Omos while he's tag teaming with Cardigan Bray Wyatt for those tag titles.
Oh man, that could be interesting. I guess you would have.
It's not as good as the Roman thing.
Well, I was gonna say you would have to give me there with the writing or the booking, seeing as they kind of revisited that during that whole swamp fight shit in 2020, and he was like not having it. So I'm like, okay, then what is it now? Since he can't find the Fiend, that means he can't use the Fiend to manipulate him. So I'm like, okay, then what's the hook? Like what is making you interested in wanting to get these titles now? Because I mean, if you want to actually, like be real here, I think to popular demand, people would much rather see him tag teaming again with Nicholas to try to regain those tag team straps and get that Mania rub again. No, but
I'm trying to think maybe he's old enough now.
He could be in the PC. We don't know. He could have been one of the extras that was in the Retribution before they fizzled out. We don't know. We don't know, man.
Oh man, imagine though Nicholas was the head of Retribution. Oh man, we would all buy in. We would all be in it. Like no matter how cheesy it was, we'd be like, "That's Nick. All right, Nick. You have us for a week. You have us for a week."
I can see him. He's like pulling all these tricks at home from a computer, and he's like, "Mom, turn on the Wi-Fi." I'm doing stuff.
I haven't seen my dad in 6 months.
It just shows just John Cone in his office, just totally isolated, just shut off from his son, and doesn't even care what he got going on. Just great American stories.
Right.
But you know what? Yeah, I got to figure out what this next pay-per-view is. I think it was Backlash. I guess it's May.
I'll look it up real quick while you're talking.
We got to figure out how, obviously I got to defend this title, this imaginary championship I have. But I am interested to see what's going to go on with Blood and Guts next week, so I'm interested for that. We did get I think it's Mercedes' first title defense against I'm sorry, Raquel's first title defense against Mercedes, which I'm not mad at. I just thought it was kind of quick, but I do like the program that they're doing between those two. I don't know. I did like Adam Cole's promo this week. I don't know about Cool Kyle in his jean jacket, but I guess we'll have to stay tuned and see how that unfolds. But
out of the two, Kyle O'Reilly has the better entrance music, right? They're both not great, but Kyle O'Reilly's music's a little better.
I mean, like, it's weird because like Adam Cole sounds like I don't know who the name of who produces their stuff now, but it's like their version of the undisputed title or the undisputed champion era theme song, but it's like just a little bit different enough, but still get the same feel. But I'm like, God, but that means you're telling me we're never gonna get this undisputed era music ever again. I'm like,
I was really kind of hoping, and it's funny because this is gonna make me sound like a hypocrite with the Roman Reigns thing. I was low key like, Adam Cole should keep the thing because he could claim that he was undisputed.
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, it has the boom. He does the whole thing with the entrance. I was hoping he was going to keep it. I did. I mean, because he can still use the whole, that's not a fact. That's just undisputed. He can still use that as a catchphrase. Yeah, I was kind of upset he didn't keep it because I'm like, damn, it's going to be a while. I'm like, what, are we going to have to wait for a 2027 Survivor Series match between Undisputed and like the Shield or something?
But do you think they're gonna get the pop if they reform on the main roster? No, it has to happen in NXT before they go up. And I think that was always my concern with them breaking up because the main roster might not know who they are. Like
to be honest, it really depends because if it happens, if Triple H is in control, I think the fan base will be different and more smarter because I think that's always been the problem for me. The disconnect is when they bring these people up from NXT. It's like you bring them up to an audience who doesn't regularly watch NXT, so they don't know. Like I remember when they brought up like Bayley, she was like not that over, and I was like, she's like over like $1 million in NXT. You know what I mean? She stayed there the longest, but then it was weird. I remember remember when the crowd turned on her after a while?
Well, I knew from watching NXT, I was like, all right, she's good, right? I liked Asuka better, so I was really glad Asuka took the title off her. But I was like, this babyface shit's not gonna fly on the main roster. Like it's too babyface.
I thought she was gonna get lost real quick in the shuffle. Like she'd be there, and then like after the first year, we'll just remember she's there if they do like I mean, that's kind of how it was with like the Royal Rumbles. You'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot that guy's still here. Oh, okay.
Well, it's the Four Horsemen thing though. Like, the WWE might not be behind you right now. But eventually, some people get hurt enough, they'll call you back up. They'll just cycle you back in. Like, and then when everybody's off TV, all right, that's when we start letting Asuka have title reigns and stuff.
Well, I mean, it's weird because the whole thing. I was surprised that they let Rhea Ripley win the title. To be honest, I thought the fact that they had her win was because I thought that maybe she was going to get her teeth replaced for reals and not just like a temporary type thing when she got them knocked out. But dude, she's been doing all these TikTok dances with fucking Lana and Naomi and shit. So I'm like, all right, I guess that was a whole lot of nothing. But I still stand by my pitch. They should have had Becky come in and challenge her and take the title back since she never lost it. But I digress, man.
Rhea versus Charlotte's the money feud, and you gotta give at least Rhea some of those wins. Like, I mean, even if Charlotte wins the feud.
I'm not gonna lie, Rhea's looking really good as a heel right now. I was buying it. I mean, it's weird because she didn't really work as a heel on NXT and on UK she did, but not so much NXT. But yeah, main roster, Rhea Ripley as a heel is not too bad.
I do feel, I agree with you. She's doing fine, but I get nervous because I feel like everybody on Raw, everything, even every little thing you kind of like is hanging on by a thread. Like 1 week, Vince is just gonna be like, you know what? Okay, we're just gonna have Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley tonight on Raw for the title, and Charlotte's gonna win. And then we're not gonna see Rhea Ripley forever. Like, that can easily happen with any week.
Or they'll just pair her up with like somebody else.
We're gonna see a tag team of Rhea Ripley and Carmella or some shit on SmackDown after a draft in like 4 or 5 months. Like it, and
Yeah,
then it's like, why are
seriously.
they a team? Like, not just because. And it drives me nuts that at one point we had the Iconics that were a legit tag team, and regardless of how good they work in the ring, who cares? Like they're at least a tag team.
I mean, they were a polished tag team too. Like,
and then we split them up
just to put another one with another girl with the other girl, and then it's like,
or we split up Sonya and Mandy Rose just for Mandy Rose to be with Dana Brooke. Like, who gives a fuck?
I mean,
like,
it's
like how am I supposed to watch the women's division and give a fuck? Like,
and they're not doing anything to try to start to like I'm not even there. Like, I mean, aside from the main players, like the Charlottes and Asukas, like they've made the women's tag titles completely useless. It's all about a whole joke now. Or they're slipping in water, and now they got Reggie with them, and it's like it's so convoluted. Like they got rid of Mickey James, they got rid of the Iconics. I mean, Lacey Evans is out, which I'm not saying she's a super integral part of the Raw women's but I mean, she obviously would be in a program right now, but she's
a solid mid-card women's wrestler that you could put in a title feud for a B-level pay-per-view, and she's supposed to have the Mania match.
Like she would probably be in a feud with like a returning Naomi right now. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So it's like it would fill time, but it's like, man, like there's not a whole lot that's making me believe in shit. Like I said, you got the Rhea Ripleys now, and I mean, I'm still obviously like the way that you were talking about, like kind of, watching Raw and hoping everything hanging by a thread. I don't think she's hanging by a thread, but I'm hoping the pressure doesn't get to her. And I'm referring to Bianca Belair and her reign, because I feel like they keep doing this thing where it's her, but then they focus on the Street Profits, and then they got the Street Profits and they focus on her. You know what I mean? It's like it's weird.
That's a good observation.
So I'm like, I want to see if she can do it. I mean, we already know the Street Profit they can do. They held the titles longer than I thought they would even allow them to. Even just gave them the titles at one point. You know what I mean?
Well, and the thing about Raw, which I think blows my mind, is technically their roster is deeper. But SmackDown, and maybe it's because theirs is not deeper, they focus in on the better matches, maybe. But we had Carmella have her run at the beginning of the year, which is fine. And then Bayley hasn't seen it for a while. So now Bayley's going to have a shot. And then Bayley's going to probably have a 2-month to 3-month feud with Bianca. Hopefully it's just that long. And then it's going to probably cycle back again to Sasha at SummerSlam. And that's the issue, is that it's kind of cycling through the same people, which I'm getting kind of sick of. So hopefully there's a draft, like the draft's not too much longer after that.
Yeah, because that was kind of the issue during the pandemic anyways, is when they got rid of quite a few people of the roster. Like, yeah, they had quite a few dependable people and some new faces you saw that they would depend on a weekly basis on Raw and stuff like that. But then you also saw the same matchups, the same tag matches. I remember, I don't know if you remember this, they would have these matches that would start off as one-on-ones, and then they would stop the match and they would come back as a tag match. And they kept doing that. They kept doing that a lot, where they would just like have these two guys get cornered by their partners just to turn it into a tag match anyways. By the way, I meant to say this earlier. Not that I'm a total huge Lucha House Party fan, but if they did give the Mysterios a shot at the tag titles, I think them versus the Lucha House Party would be pretty cool match for.
That'd be really fun, like 1 month feud.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I think it would be a service for House Party, and then also it'd be a fun kind of thing for Dominic too. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he still does need to hit that piece,
If how I'd fix the women's tag division, and a lot of people are going to hate this because it does technically devalue the tag titles. But when we used to have a FIFA tournament, me and my friends, it would be the 4 of us. We had a main title we would go for every week. But then we would do another tournament when we're on the same team. So it'd be the 2 of us on the same team. But we're all still trying to compete for the main title.
Okay.
So if the winners won the tag titles, they could cash in a match against each other to become the new #1 contender for the main title.
Oh, okay.
So I think since there's not technically any tag teams in the women's division. I think it would be really cool for like Shayna and Nia to just be like, we're gonna cash these in.
That kind of, that's almost like a mixed tag match, or what was that shit that they did? They had like the mix, like the like Finn Balor's, I forgot, they had like men with the women, and then whichever, there was Alexa and like Braun Strowman at one point. But I think whichever mixed tag team would win, they would win like respective shots at whatever division they're in. But I could see this being more of like, there's more possibilities with it because it's not limited to, men and women. It's like all women, but they're all individuals that all want to get that opportunity. So that actually, yeah, that'd be pretty smart, dude.
Because there's no mid card title and there's not really a system to get number one. So the thing is, you could hold the titles if you want and just defend them and be the tag team champions because you like having gold. But if you eventually just be like, you make a deal with your partner, just like, we're gonna put these on the, we're gonna vacate these titles. We're going to.
Oh, okay. I was about to ask you. So, like, if they were to make this choice, what happens to the title? But you're saying so it'd be a vacate, like they would vacate them. Okay.
They would vacate them, and then they would face each other. The winner then faces the champion at the next pay-per-view or something like that. And yeah. And then if that person loses, they could also go in another match eventually and try to become tag team champions again. Like, and the titles will jump around, and that's what I'm saying. It kind of devalues the titles.
But at the same time, it kind of gives them more of an urgent, like there's more of an urgency, like more of a purpose behind wanting to have them. It makes them mean something in a smaller aspect where you don't have to feature them a whole lot, but you understand why people are like, trying like hell to grab them. So I could see that. I mean, it's almost like grabbing a golden ticket, I mean, and at the same time, there will be those teams that are actually teams that probably are more interested in holding them for reals. And then that could also create more drama because then you could have that, and then that could show signs of like the cracks in the team if they're like, well, I'm kind of done being a team player. I kind of want to be a star player, So I think that could open it up pretty good.
People interviewing saying like, hey, when are you guys gonna put the titles on the line for a number one contender match? And then they're like, well, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that or whatever. And then one day you just turn on your partner, or like. Or you could legitimately see someone like Asuka and Charlotte being like, you know what, like, let's team up, and then we'll put the titles on, maybe even that night, like.
I think that's the key, is to do it first with a team that's legit, as opposed to doing it like with a team like Dana and like Mandy out the gate. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not that it's not as believable, but you wouldn't invest in it as much if it was going to be someone like them as opposed to like a Charlotte and Asuka. But
well, let's just say like right now, who the fuck is Adam Pearce? It just says straight up like, hey, we're officially making this rule with the tag titles where you guys can vacate the titles to have a number one contenders match to face the champion at a later date. Imagine like Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax hearing that news for the first time. And they've had a good run being tag champions, and they're kind of proud to be tag champions, but they're like,
Well, yeah, I think that also works for them because of the nature of how they got together to begin with. Was like they started out trying to tear each other apart, but we never ever got that actual one-on-one. So if they were forced with the reason to finally have to go down to that, I think that'd be a good dynamic, because I don't think it's really doing any favors for Shayna to continue doing what they're doing with them, especially if they have Reggie still attached. And I don't know.
This is what I'm going back to with how I think how deep the Raw division is. Like, let's just say Rhea Ripley's champion. Let's just say you want her to have like a long championship where she maybe drops at the Royal Rumble or something. She could have feuds with Shayna, Nia, Charlotte, Asuka, maybe a returning Becky Lynch, and stuff like that. Like, there's months of feuds.
Oh yeah, feuds there. Yeah. I mean, like, but yeah, they're tying up all the best shots at these feuds in the women's division, and it's like, for what? For some titles that you guys already devalued like beyond. I mean, no one else can do it worse than they did. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think honestly, that's great, because to be honest, I'm not interested in the mid card women's title because I don't think there's a lot of interest in that or investment there. I think keeping it at a tag team world championship level is important because, again, now you're adding more. There's more in the line, You know what I mean? Again, just that urgency that the want to step your game up and try to, I think it just calls for a lot of interesting development storyline wise, whether there's new affiliations being formed just to try to, go after that opportunity, old ones, and like we said, showing cracks in the foundation and stuff like that. Like, I mean, for all we know, we could finally get maybe like Natalia versus Tamina. And by the way, they've been doing a great job with Tamina. I didn't think it'd be done, but they are doing great things with Tamina right now.
And I think, but there's a ceiling, right? Like we're impressed, but like if she says,
I don't see her as world champ. Yeah,
if I'm gonna feud with Bianca, we'd all be like, oh god, we gotta watch that for a month. Like,
I mean, if it was them, it would have to be them two. Like a double team, like handicap type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
But just her and Tamina, no, I mean, because Tamina can't do it on the mic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But presentation, they've been, hey, I take my hat off to them for sure, man. But you know what, man, I'm gonna call it here because we could just pretty much rewrite the whole business in one night, I think. Right. But I do want to thank you, man, as always, being available for the Flow Show, man. And thank you, everyone, for always tuning in, man. Feel free to follow us, Flow Wrestling Pod and Flow Wrestling Show, respectively, on Instagram and Twitter. And, of course, we are dropping on YouTube, but also, we'll see what the consistency is like with Baca as he tries to convince me otherwise when I get the email when he downloads it. So, but we are also on the Young Baca Productions podcast network as well, audio wise. You can check us out on the SoundCloud. Been getting quite a few listens lately, man. I definitely appreciate you guys checking us out. And I guess it's worth noting we have a brand new member, or I should say permanent member, fourth member of the Flow Horsemen. Oh, I just did that off the fly.
Oh, that's really good though. That's so much better than the Four Horsemen.
But we got Mac Lowe, man, the Wave God himself. He definitely has made it a home, not just in our hearts, but here on the Flow Show. So definitely we'll be seeing much more of him on the show. And man, hit us up, man. If you guys got some suggestions you guys want us to tackle, I mean, I'm sure we're down to talk shit about any era or fix any era you would like for us to fix. But,
we'll fix. Well, I think AEW is amazing, but I come in here and bitch about it for an hour every week. So
it's because I love him so much and I want him to do so well. Yeah.
If you run a wrestling promotion, anybody, or including you, Kwency, and you like my tag team title idea, just steal it. Go ahead and steal it.
Just call it the Crazy K Invitational, and they'll be like, where'd that come from? Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The invisible hand has spoken.
The invisible hand, the invisible hand championship.
There you go. You know what I mean? It's somewhere around here. It's boom. But definitely want to again thank you guys for listening, man. It's been another great episode of the Flow Show. We will be back next week, man. Till next time, peace.